Hey, podium in my home race. Podium in our home race.
Yeah, man. Fantastic.
This is Paddock 43, the podcast, your weekly rundown giving you all things F1 from both on and off the track.
From races, trades, rumours, the lifestyle, and all the things that come with the F1 world.
We are Amy, Elle, and Pat. Let's get into it.
Wow, do we have a very exciting episode planned. I mean, I feel a little bit left out because you've both got your hoodies on.
We do.
They're happy.
I'm feeling the McLaren love right now. I just
want to crawl up into a ball of McLaren-ness.
A bowl of oranges.
just want to hug
A bowl of
McLaren
papaya.
a bowl of papaya.
A bowl of papaya.
I literally thought, I was like, oh, I should put an orange shirt on, and I didn't. And now I regret it. Anyway.
Well, you missed the memo.
I totally missed the memo.
Well, we should probably talk about why that we love McLaren right now.
It's the whole weekend.
That's the whole
Too
weekend.
much happened.
They did us proud.
They really, really did.
And they really just turned it on for the Sunday. I wasn't expecting it. But before we get into today's episode, obviously besides the obvious, McLaren, how was everyone's weekends? Amy, how was your weekend?
I had a lovely weekend. I had two friends come down from Sydney. So we had a nice night out. And then most of the weekend I spent like chilling out, watching F1. I think that was it. Yeah. Very wholesome.
My weekend was spent fighting for the remote. So there was a lot on
Wimbledon.
sport-wise.
Oh, my God.
Wimbledon, Ashes, there was rowing on. And then also there was the Tour de France on.
Yes.
And then obviously
which
not in
really
England.
is up your alley.
That is in France. Yes, it is up my alley. And well, actually, no, it's up my partner's alley because he is a cyclist. For a punter's weekend, absolutely massive. What about you, Pat?
My week was a lot more relaxed. I had a soccer game Friday night. We won. Woo.
Go girls.
And wow, it felt so good. This weekend made me realize how good it is when you've got nothing on the weekend. Early start this morning.
Being from Sydney, I hate that it's so dark at 7 a.m.
No, so do we.
So do we. We're from Melbourne.
My alarm went off and I was like, I'm snoozing. I don't want to deal with this. I'm going back to sleep.
Yeah, you don't want to get out of bed.
But then I was like, wait, race.
Yeah.
David came in and said, have you seen the race? I was like, well, no, I'm asleep.
Yeah. I did in my dreams.
I actually did. No, I had a dream that Lando won.
So
it was fun. I thought it was real.
Tom did the exact same to me. Tom walks in and he goes, do you know who won? Do you know the result? What about this? And I was like, shut up.
Don't tell me.
Don't tell me anything. And I'm wearing headphones and connected to the TV, so I cannot hear anything. And I just wanted to know. I just wanted to look at my phone. And if you didn't watch it, that's why we are here.
We're here
That
for
is
you.
why
We
we
are
are reporting what has happened. So maybe we should crack on into it.
Let's talk about what was happening over the weekend.
So much going on.
There was a lot happening on the track.
Elle, start us off.
Ooh. Well, we forgot to mention this last week because I think that we were just so excited about the race coming up, and there probably wasn't a lot of coverage about it last week. But there was a film being filmed this weekend. Being filmed, that sounds right.
A film being created.
The
goat,
Brad Pitt. He was out with his brand new Formula One team in a reformatted F2 car, which was very exciting. We actually saw him take a photo on the grid with all the drivers.
Apex Racing. It was crazy. They fully recreated a garage. They even had their own, what's like a banner? Or what's the, when you go to the
security tape?
Yes, security tape with the branding. They basically had an a replica of a garage.
Well, they wanted to create a really authentic experience of F1.
The Mercedes engineers went into the garage and were kind of like pointing out, okay, yep, screens here, this here. You have to have this data coming up here. And it was just...
Yeah, so Mercedes was heavily involved because Lewis Hamilton is a producer on the new film. So like I said, they wanted to make it the most authentic experience and really feel like it was on the F1 grid the whole time, part of the race. So,
and from what we saw, authentic, they did make it.
Well, Brad Pitt was out there in between practice sessions.
Do you know what I love as well? I love
The memes.
Well, of course, I love the memes, but there was a shot where they were getting Brad Pitt, and then obviously they had to pull in a third driver just to add to the scene. And who else but to pick that stunning face of Carlos? I mean, why not? Could you imagine how big his head got? Like, I got picked because I'm the most handsome.
Sound like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
My favorite meme though was people saying that, like, imagine if Brad Pitt beat Max Verstappen.
Oh, yes. I love seeing them.
I wonder how
Create the
fast
story.
they ended up going.
I wonder that too.
They didn't show it on any of the coverage. Others.
I think they did say as well that Brad was saying that even the marshals and just like people on the outside of the tracks kind of trying to run in and help because they, spun off or did a little stunt. But Brad was like, that was all planned. You guys need to
Chill.
cool your jets.
Oh, he loved it. He loved it.
I would
And
have
also,
loved it.
it was a record weekend at Silverstone. 480,000 people. So what a time to start filming a movie and have that sort of attendance of a crowd.
I think there was even marshals that would, they were all just extras in the movie.
Yeah. Well, the whole crowd will be extras, won't they? Yeah.
Yep.
How good.
Did
Just
everyone
so
sign
fun.
release forms?
If you bought a ticket to Silverstone, you signed a release form.
Yeah.
Apologies, there will be no payment
You
to
should
extras.
Check your terms and conditions there.
Read the fine print.
Terms
But
and
some
conditions may apply.
other exciting things that, ahead of us talking about what happened over the weekend were a few upgrades in some of the cars.
More noticeable than others.
9 teams had new upgrades. 9.
We saw McLaren get some upgrades and wow, that worked in their favour. But AlphaTauri had some upgrades and they did terribly.
They downgraded.
They downgraded and that is tragic. That is sad.
You'd be kicking yourself so much being that team after seeing McLaren's performance over the weekend from their upgrades. They had that in Austria. Obviously, Lando had his, and then they brought them in for Oscar.
But then it'll be interesting to see when cars get more upgrades throughout the season and maybe McLaren's not having upgrades and then, we'll see.
Could we see post summer break more cars challenging the Red Bull?
I think we want to.
I think we want
Because
to.
I wonder because Red Bull have hit their salary cap, they can't upgrade the car anymore. Whereas all the teams below Red Bull are able to, they're putting in upgrades, they're putting more into the car. So maybe we'll see more of the middle field coming up and challenging Max. I mean, even they won't challenge him for the championship or the drivers' championship because he can win the constructors and drivers by himself without Sergio.
Max has already won the Drivers' Championship.
Has he technically won it?
Yes. I
Technically,
read
no,
today
Yeah.
Max Verstappen doesn't have to win another race in 2023 to be crowned champion. If he finished P2 for the rest of the way, he would still claim the title.
Yes.
You have to take a serious, unfortunate incident for that to not happen. But
For him to not
But I
finish.
think it's also just for a lot of the other teams, and you'd probably feel this personally, just competing in whatever sport you are, that you just want to beat them. You want to feel that I beat them. Oscar came out post race saying, "Hey, yes, I came fourth, and I could have been third, but I'd much rather be fourth that way. It wasn't my driving; it was just a time.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the difference because of that safety car. Otherwise, he probably would have been third."
Yeah.
I think even Lewis acknowledged that. Being
Yeah.
like, if it wasn't for
Yeah,
the
I
safety
think so.
car. And amongst that, McLaren had their chrome.
McLaren.
Yeah.
Don't get me started about McLaren. I was just
The
Ball
chrome.
of happiness.
the juices flowing.
Well, Lando said he'd been asking for chrome for over 6 years.
Yeah.
And it finally happened. So
Maybe they'll keep the chrome.
I think so.
Good luck,
It looked
Charlie.
really
I think
good
it's
on
good
his
luck.
sleeve, his arm sleeve.
and
His
on the
helmet.
everything looked great.
Well, something that I thought I actually didn't know this is that Silverstone is one of 2 of the races on the calendar that are privately funded.
Oh my God, yes.
So Silverstone and Japan, they have no government funding.
It's all privately funded.
Yeah.
So I think it's every penny over profit goes back into the track.
Yep.
Well, they would have loved
Good
the
job.
480,000 people
Yes.
across the weekend.
Yeah, last year I think it was 400,000, so 80,000 more people. And sorry, I just had to mention one other thing. 110 years of Aston Martin. I don't know if you guys saw the parade. 110 Aston Martins.
All the Astons out
One per year. And
I didn't see that.
Oh, it was beautiful. That was a chef's kiss. There's a lot of exciting things going on during all 3 practice races. And Elle, you wrote some really interesting notes about practice. I feel like you need to tell us. They're really thorough.
They go into great detail.
It seems all I wrote in my notes, good Lord, was I excited. So I feel like I have forgotten so much about practice. So I'm going to have to lean on you guys.
Yeah.
Practice 1, I wrote this down because I thought this was fascinating. There was 22 thousandths of a second between Carlos Sainz and Verstappen.
Sorry, can you just say that time again?
22 thousandths of a second.
So we saw the Williams with a bit of speed. Alex Albon in particular had pretty impressive straight line speed, finishing 3rd fastest in FP1 and FP2.
Very impressive. I think he did fantastic. And I was kind of hoping that he would bring that into race day. Don't want to give away any spoilers, but
Even quali. Well,
Yeah.
he was 2nd fastest in FP3 as well.
yeah.
A few people thought he may have got a front row.
Which shows that there is potential with the car. And the other thing that I thought was interesting, it was a home race for a lot of teams, and having their factories close by, they're able to get parts. So there was a lot of kind of movements going on throughout practice because it's a way that the teams can test out certain parts in the car. And Lando's front wing was actually being fixed during practice 1.
Was it?
Yeah. So his front wing, he got a new front wing and a new front nose. So Piastri hasn't actually had those upgrades just yet.
With you saying that Oscar didn't have the upgrades, he was, I think it was a 10th of a second off Lando.
Oh, he still did well. But yeah, really solid 3 practices. Going into quali, I know that you've got a few things to say about quali, Elle.
Well, I mean, it was very exciting for, Aussie man, Oscar Piastri. Obviously qualified number 3. And the last rookie who qualified in the top 3 was Lewis Hamilton in 2007. So very exciting things happened throughout, the various qualifying, Q1, Q2, Q3. And I think one of the ones that really stood out of my mind is Lewis spinning out on his first lap in qualifying 1.
I mean, when was the last time he did that?
Well, he recovered well, but it really wasn't a flying start, especially for a Silverstone champion. And on a track where he has a portion of the track named after him, which I'll get into later, but I kind of also feel like that's a little bit weird. I understand he's a sir and he's done so well, but isn't that sort of honour given to someone when they're retired or gone?
Yeah.
I disagree.
Oh, okay.
He's won 8 times, and one of those times he won on 3 tyres. Need we say no more?
Icon.
He deserves to have part of the track named after him because there is a reason why I love Silverstone so much. And I'd forgotten. And now I remembered after this weekend. And I feel like you guys can probably guess what it is. It's got to do with Lewis Hamilton. And he's the cutest.
Oh,
The cutest part
Roscoe.
of Silverstone.
Roscoe made some very exciting entrances across the weekend.
For those of you that don't know, Roscoe is Lewis Hamilton's dog, aka child. He's British bulldog, and wow, he owned Silverstone this weekend.
I think everyone was chasing after Roscoe. Everyone wanted to hear from Roscoe.
I reckon Roscoe had more like media attempts than Lewis.
I agree.
I
It's
saw
Roscoe-
it more across social media than anything.
Literally. It's Roscoe's world and we just live in it.
I'm okay with that. I'm really okay with that.
I saw a video of, I can't remember where they were. They were in the paddock somewhere and they were trying to interview Lewis. And then Roscoe was there and going up to Roscoe and patting him. And the way Lewis looked at Roscoe, honestly, I don't even
Melts your
think
heart.
I would even look at my future children that way. Like, he adores him. And I would the same. I would probably look at Roscoe the same way.
His little
We should dip into in qualifying after Kevin Magnussen's car caused a red flag with 3 minutes to go, just near the pit entry 2, which caused a lot of chaos. When Max tried to come out, and actually do his final lap and hit the pit wall as he
Oh
came
my
out.
gosh, yes.
And he had to get a whole new front wing.
Yep.
Those front wings would cost hundreds of thousands of pounds.
Yes.
The funniest part about
Into
that
the pit
was
wall.
though that the broadcast cameras were just focusing on how he'd ripped up the sponsor's name.
They've ripped up the sponsor's name.
I mean, great for the sponsor.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like,
Yeah.
any PR is good,
Good
PR in
PR.
this moment. Max has just like
Exactly.
ripped up your name.
It
Great
was a pretty,
advertising.
Good job, Max.
pretty big bump as well for professional race car driver. You had one job, and that was not to crash into
One
the
job.
walls.
I mean, qualifying one was also interesting because we saw Checo out. But Amy, you've got, do you want to give us a rundown of everyone that was out in qualifying one?
Yeah, so Q1, we saw Kevin Magnussen, Nick De Vries, Yuki Tsunoda, Joe Guan Yu, and Sergio Perez. I don't know how we are still saying that he is not making it to Q3, but out in Q1 is just another level of my brain just can't comprehend what I watched.
Because he just likes to climb back up. It's like, I do like the Simpsons meme where they put Checo in the bus and he's like, ooh, I'm in danger.
I just, I don't know. After the red flag, he was the first driver to go out and wait at pit exit. He was then the first driver to cross the line. So the first one to do his flying laps. He was sitting at the top, and then the timesheet, everyone else after him just kept fanging out like good times. Has he lost confidence? Is it?
So who was out in Q2? Because I kind of want to get stuck into Q3, and I know you do because I can see the look in your eyes.
I liked Q1 just because of how exciting it was. Because Lando went fastest. It's like, yes,
Yes, baby.
go you good thing. So in Q2, Nico Hulkenberg, Lance Stroll, Esteban Ocon, Logan Sargent, and Valtteri Bottas. All gone. Q2.
Bye.
Well, Bottas lost power in Q2.
I just want to know how you can just lose power.
Well, the same thing happened to Alpine and Kevin Magnussen during the actual race. So it happens.
It happens, yeah. I'm no mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, but maybe we should.
I thought you were a mechanical engineer.
Psych, I am. No, I'm
Plot
not.
twist.
Plot twist. No, I'm not. But I don't. I'm maybe Peter. If you can help me explain these things to me, then that would be great. But yeah, I don't know exactly.
I liked seeing Oscar at the top of the timetable. And then Lando came out and beat him by half a second. I was like, damn you. But also, yay, Lando.
Interesting. Yeah.
Well,
I just thought it was good.
Yeah.
Good performance by the rookie.
it led into an interesting Q3
Yes. So
Yeah.
let's get into Q3.
ending.
I think
Incredible.
McLaren would be very happy to have not stolen Oscar off Alpine, but gone through all the drama and like the legal aspect of it to get him to drive for McLaren, because the way he performed was just outstanding.
I mean, we'll get into the race, but imagine if he did go to Alpine. Alpine had two DNFs.
Yeah.
You know?
Not a great day for them.
So, I dare say for our main Aussie man now, sorry, Daniel, we still do love you, but Oscar's
do.
actually competing at the moment. Please ignore that. It was great.
Yeah.
I was going to say, and then with 3 minutes to go, almost everyone put slicks on.
Yeah.
Which made for a bit of fun.
Yes.
Everyone just went out hot. It was Lando's third front row of his career.
He so deserved it.
I know. I am so happy for him.
Excellent driving. Excellent car.
Yeah.
Excellent moment.
Their upgrades have really they've nailed it. I mean, I'm hoping it also translates to other tracks and not just Silverstone. So we shall see.
Yeah. The next couple of weeks will be able to tell us. Yeah.
It's kind of like what we've seen with Aston Martin. They were going so well, and then I think just the last few races their car hasn't suited the track. So they haven't been performing as well. So hopefully that doesn't happen with McLaren.
Yeah.
And then I think that's what leads us into the race.
Race day.
Let's get into it. Very exciting moment. I mean, as I touched on earlier in the episode, Brad Pitt was out there on that starting grid. He was setting up his car as well. So they filmed all of that. So that was very interesting, and then joined in the team pick, and we can pop that on our socials so you can see that if you haven't seen it. But very cool to do that.
So we saw McLaren's first front row start in Silverstone since 2008 with Lando's third front row of his career and Lando's start.
Lando's start.
I mean,
Lando
taking over Max.
Lando's also, he hasn't been, he's not the best at his starts. And he
gets
really,
nervous.
Yes. And he really just put it on today.
He
But
did.
we did see that later on in the race, which I'll touch on in a bit. But
And I was
we saw his slow start there.
Yeah, I was listening to a interview with Max and he was saying that his wheels actually spun out at the start.
Max is just looking for excuses.
100%.
100% he is looking for excuses.
funny
because
though.
he was even complaining about the track being windy and it impacting the car. I'm like, you're just trying to
And
do
no
your
grip.
intimidation. Yeah. No.
It's really funny though because Verstappen and Lando are really good friends outside of F1.
I've heard that.
They're
I've
little-
heard that they're like best
Little
friends.
Gamers. They game together.
They're only 10 months apart. And there's this photo that was circulating around on Instagram where Max looks like he's about 5 years older than Lando. And it's so funny because Lando looks so small. And I was like,
Lando
so
is
cute. So it's nice that they're best friends.
I just want to get Lando's cheeks and go,
just want to squish him.
squish you.
Well, we also saw everyone, well, not everyone, but a few people came out on the soft tires. And they were saying that for a lot of teams that was a very interesting move because they thought with the weather conditions, which were dry, that it would only allow about 10 laps. I mean, we saw George Russell lasting about 27 laps on them. And it was an interesting tyre strategy because by the time everyone was pitting, they actually moved from their mediums to soft, except McLaren.
Very much a race around tyre strategy.
Yeah.
Even when Lando came into pit, he wanted to go on the softs. But then the team was like,
Said
nope,
no.
hards. And everyone else was pitting for softs.
And I think a key moment as well was obviously when Magnussen's engine died. Bye.
That safety car
But
really
wow.
threw
Hello.
a spanner in the works.
Such a spanner. Lap 32, lap 33.
That's when Kevin's car
Smoking Haas.
kaboom.
And I think that drastically impacted the race.
Well, we started with a virtual safety car. So the field was fairly neutral. It didn't close up. There was no closed gaps. Everyone was sort of, you heard on the team radios, do we pit? Do we pit? You know, we're halfway through the race. A few people, such as McLaren, they hadn't done a pit stop yet. They were talking about a one pit stop strategy. So, you know, people like Lewis passed that pit just as the virtual safety car came out.
Including Oscar.
But then the actual safety car came out
The real one.
just in time for Lewis to be like, I will use that to pit. And if it wasn't for that moment, Oscar would be out in front.
He would have gotten a podium.
I was listening to Lewis in a interview afterwards, and it's so true that the safety car or a safety car in a race can really make or break it. And he was saying that he feels as though he's been so unlucky this whole season. But for once, he feels like the safety car actually worked in his favour. Interesting because I think of George Russell and Leclerc, it completely worked against their favour because they had actually pitted right before the crash. So they were on medium tyres. The McLarens were on hards, and then everyone else got their butt into gear and said, let's swap. And then they were all in softs. And that's when what you were saying, Amy, about Lando was kind of freaking out because he was on hards, but then Lewis was behind him on softs, chasing his little butt.
Well, it takes a bit to heat up hard tyres as well, especially when you're following the safety car.
I was going to say they were very lucky for the safety car to go around for that long because it just allowed more heat to go into the tyres. 'Cause, you know, if they decided to end the safety car maybe 2 or 3 laps beforehand, they probably wouldn't have finished.
And I wonder if
where they
that's
did.
why on, I think it was lap 38, 39, where the safety car left and they started again, Lando was a little bit slow. He just
he
just gritted out a little bit more,
Yeah.
and then that just allowed Max to take off and get those few seconds in front.
His
Zoom, zoom.
restart was not great.
No.
From the aerial view that you had, you saw Max kind of just fly out, and then Lando was very slow off the mark.
He redeemed himself.
He did redeem himself, especially because
Lando.
he had Lewis sitting in his slipstream, and he was just defending that spot so well. And he was like, I am not letting Lewis get past me. And it was fantastic to actually see that fight there. And I reckon if it actually had maybe 2 or 3 more laps, Oscar would have got out in front of Lewis as well, because Lewis, he said on the radio, my tyres are giving out at the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found that so interesting. Lap 39, Lewis attempting to take over Lando was so entertaining.
I love that. I was genuinely sitting at my TV like this. I
Yeah.
actually think I recorded.
Is that because you were nervous about getting a tattoo? We should just also
Maybe.
quickly add that Amy
We forgot
came
to.
out on TikTok saying that if Lando won, she would get a tattoo. So
She was very adamant about it.
she was
as
very
well.
adamant about it. And Pat and I had already watched the race at this point, and Amy was still watching and waiting for her to catch up. So
Yeah. The group chat was going off.
She was.
But then we were trying to decide.
Yeah, well,
Is it a win in
it's-
our eyes?
it's a win in
It's
our
a win in
eyes.
our eyes.
I
But
mean, obviously Max won. It's also probably a win in Red Bull's eyes to see how far Checo climbed back up the ladder.
yeah, he
15th
he did
to
well.
6th.
Yeah, 15th to 6th. He did well. It's just, I find now,
It's getting old.
yeah,
It's-
like you're.
It's all he does at the moment.
Yeah.
Stop. Like, why do you want to climb your way back up
Yeah.
every race now?
I mean, I think Hamilton did really well as well. He climbed from 7th to 3rd.
Mm.
I loved seeing him on the podium.
Both Mercedes did really well. George, when he was climbing up, his team and engineers kept telling him where people were behind him. I think Carlos was behind him at this point, and he was just saying, I don't care who's behind me. I only care about those McLarens in front of me.
Yeah.
He just wanted to know, how do I get there?
But even George, like he did say, he was like, those McLarens were just way too fast.
Yeah. Lap 41, Russell was stuck behind Piastri and he was shocked. He was saying, McLarens are so quick on hards. It is impressive.
Yeah, because everyone else was struggling on the hards. And that's what Lando was saying on the radio to Amy's point before when he was complaining about them. He was saying, how is everyone else going on them?
Yeah.
And even, Zach was out and reporting back being like, they're all right, but let's just do them.
And
That
I
was
wonder,
my poor attempt at an American accent, by the way.
I wonder,
it was good.
imagine if they were on softs. Imagine if they were able to change to softs. McLaren.
I don't know if it would have worked.
There's so many ifs and buts.
Yeah.
and what would have happened?
Because it could have been like a Lewis Hamilton ending where he just wore them out.
Yeah.
Well, Lewis got his 3rd place and he had his supporter.
Roscoe.
No.
Oh, his brother?
No.
Shakira.
Shakira. Now, this is probably one of
Menina.
the hottest F1 speculated romances at the moment, because Shakira has obviously been at Miami, Spanish Grand Prix and the British Grand Prix. And everyone's just wondering what is going on.
And she was in Monaco as well.
So
Maybe it's a PR move and she has an album coming out.
well, she had some support.
No, she doesn't.
She had some support. I don't think she was out on the grid before the race started. But Cara Delevingne was.
Oh.
Let's not talk about that. I mean, we should talk about that.
We should definitely
But
talk
it
about it.
annoyed me so much.
The best was just Sky News presenter Martin going up to her being like, we'd love to ask you a question. And what did she say, Amy?
She's
There is some passion.
I'm about to explode. She just straight up said no before he could even really ask. She was like, no, sorry, can't hear you.
Well, she came out and said that she was told to say no.
I call lies.
And just a side note, for those of you that maybe don't know who Martin Brundle is or don't really keep up to date with, watch races, Martin Brundle is, how do we explain it? He's like,
The man of the grid.
yeah, he's the man of the grid,
grid
and
walk.
he's just like that cute uncle that you have that he's so cute. It's like he's so sweet. So he
Can't think
puts
of the
in
one
such-
cute uncle I have.
I do. He like puts in the hard work and basically walks the grid up and back before a race and tries to find people to interview. And most people are quite accommodating. Catherine Zeta-Jones actually commended him in Monaco for all the hard work he does. But a lot of the time he gets rejected. There's been a few times where Serena Williams' bodyguards have basically almost like knocked him out,
He
being like,
tries hard.
step away.
He's got a hard job. It's hard
he
to actually
does.
approach people.
It makes me
Yeah.
sad. Like, why would you say no to Martin Brundle?
Well,
I want to give him a cuddle.
we can
Yeah.
dive into this, but I'm very much nobody until this podcast becomes number one.
Martin, if you're
but
out there, we will accept your
when
interview.
I was at the Melbourne Grand Prix this year, I was interviewing various people, and we got some no's there. But we can go into that in a deep dive because
That
I
can be
even had
its,
our main man Carlos yell no at me.
That can be a whole episode.
That's a whole episode in itself. On who our driver of the day is. Each person, I think, should tell us.
So the official driver of the day was Lando Norris. And look, I'm going to have to say that you, my dear Lando Norris, were chef's kiss today. You deserved it. He was my driver of the day. 100% my driver of the day.
I agree with you, Pat. I reckon it was Lando's moment. I also jumped on the voting poll.
Did you?
Which I've never done before, and it was an interesting
I've never
experience.
done
But I
that.
put Lando
Vote for
down,
driver of the day.
and then I went on to a private browser and I did Oscar because you can't do it twice. So I just was a McLaren girl all weekend. I was fangirling and I was having a real moment, and I was very excited. What about you, Amy? Who was your driver of the day?
Lando. I love him. You can't not love him. I love his sass, just the way he carries himself. He's just a classic. And his driving, obviously, was phenomenal. So
he deserved it.
definitely Lando.
There was a lot of deserving drivers over the weekend.
Oscar probably deserved it as well. Being a rookie.
Speaking of driver of the day, I know this was a couple of weekends ago. Alex Albon obviously got driver of the day back in Canada. Pat, you might want to close your ears for this one.
I can't close my ears with the headphones.
But yes, no, she can't. According to, and I might butcher this, Corriere dello Sport, if Carlos Sainz leaves Ferrari at the end of his contract, so that's in 2024, to go to a team where he would become first driver, Ferrari may target Alex Albon to replace him. That's a rumor floating around at the moment. So I'm just going to put that out there for food for thought.
I
Don't
really
mind
like
it.
Alex Albon, yeah.
You don't?
Oh.
You don't want to see him in red?
No, I do like him.
Oh, I thought you said you did.
No, I do like him. I do like
I thought
him.
you said you don't.
No, I do like him.
Yeah.
I really like him. I think he's got a lot of potential, and I think he's always got such great attitude. Do you know what I really missed, guys?
What?
I missed Lando's champagne spikes.
Me, the way, oh my gosh, okay, the way he did that.
No one does it
ruffled
like
some
him.
feathers.
No one does it like
But
him.
also, did you see the video, the same video of Lewis trying to do it?
Womp, womp, womp. It's just Lando's
You
thing.
see Lando and he goes bang, and then Lewis is like, dink. And it's like,
Did you see Lando asking Oscar to do a shoey?
yes.
And it was the most awkward shoey I've
He-
ever seen. And then Lando kind of was just like, oh, this is really awkward. I've literally just riled this crowd up to shout out your name. This is pre-race, by the way. And they both come out. Everyone's shouting Lando, and he's like, Oscar, Oscar, Lando himself. So he's trying to do a nice thing for his teammate. And then he makes Oscar do a shoey, and it's just the most
He took
awkward
a sip.
footage.
It was like a,
So then Lando then picks up his car, not his car. Lando then picks up his shoe and just chugs it back, and it was more entertaining.
Yeah, I've done a shoey.
I've done a shoey. I actually did a shoey
refuse.
on the Melbourne Grand Prix podium
Oh, yeah,
back in 2018.
I did mine in 2019. It wasn't my shoe either.
Ew. Mine was in my shoe. I had been, that was when I worked at the Grand Prix. And so I had been in those shoes all week for like 18-hour
That's
days.
just
Y'all are
I'll
gross.
post a photo of it because it's a great one on the podium.
Nasty
2018.
Nasty ass bitches.
so. I think that is Silverstone for us.
Yeah.
I think we're done with that one. There is a weekend
A slight pause.
Slight
pause button on the calendar.
Not on the podcast, but on the we've decided to create some little mini episodes because again, there are a lot of people that have come to us and said, we love your content, but we don't fully understand it and we would love to get some little mini episodes just explaining things. If there's anything that you guys want to know more about or don't fully understand, let us know. We've got a bunch of little mini series lined up. So
They'll come to you on Thursdays.
where can our listeners reach us?
So you can find us at Paddock43 on TikTok and Instagram. Give us a follow, subscribe to our podcast, and we can't wait to chat to you guys next week.
And make sure that you give us 5 stars.
To the man that gave us 1-star review, you did say, we're assuming you're a man because I think you had a male name that you put there. I'm sorry if you're not. But you said that we're very sorry that we said we took over instead of overtaking.
Well, we're not
Apologies.
sorry
But we're not
because
sorry,
we're not
because-
sorry at all. We know what an overtake is and we know what taking over is.
And we just created our own new language, and that's how advanced we are.
It's the same thing. So
It's his
Goodbye.
loss.
And then there was
Eject.
there was
That's your loss.
there was that one guy on TikTok as well who tried to pull a bit of a sexist card as well, saying, "Are you girls just talking about men and not engines?" And I was like,
maybe listen to the podcast, sir.
and also, I'm sorry, if you were talking specifically about engines, then that'd be a very niche podcast.
And it's not us.
We're not engineers.
We're not.
We're not
Sorry.
engineers. As much as I'd love to be, I'm not. I'm
I
not
wish
going to start
my
claiming.
brain could.
I don't wish I was an engineer. Physics was tragic for me. Anyway, that is a whole other story.
I'm impressed you even
Okay.
attempted it.
No, when I lived in France, I had to do physics and
I
that
think we need to wrap this
We
up.
do.
We are rambling on.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you in your ears next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Your McLaren's a rocket ship. High speed is insane. Well done, guys. Mega job with the pit stop and strategy. Let's keep pushing, all right?